Hey guys, Pete here. I'm going to do my Game of Thrones Saturday preview video that I had planned, even though I know that by this point, episode 4 has leaked and a lot of people have seen it already. But the video I had planned has some historical context anyways that you might not have been aware of. I just ask again, if you've watched the episode, that's fine. Just don't spoil it for everybody else. We'll have plenty of time to talk about episode 4 on Monday, so kind of split on the idea all the way around. I mean, I understand people want to see it. They're hyped up. That's cool. But just remember that not everybody has, and, the experience can be ruined if you know what's going to happen. All right, so this episode coming up is the shortest episode in Game of Thrones history, from what I understand. I know it was the shortest episode of this season, but I read somewhere that it's actually the shortest one of all time. And that made me think that maybe this battle wasn't going to happen, but it doesn't really matter because we know at some point Daenerys is going to unleash these dragons, so everybody's been referring to that battle as the Field of Fire 2.0. The Field of Fire is an actual battle in the fake history of Westeros. Fake in the sense that it's made up, obviously, but it's real to the world that we're watching. So this happened way back when Aegon I Targaryen came to Westeros to conquer it. He landed at what would become King's Landing and set off on a campaign to take over the continent. Things were going pretty well. He rolled through Harrenhal, Crackclaw Point, and Storm's End, and ended up in the Riverlands at the Stony Sept. So before I get any deeper into this actual battle, let me say to show-only watchers that this is historical, but there's a reason that I'm mentioning all this stuff because of the people who were involved in what happened after. So it's not really that important if you don't remember exact details here or you don't know where the Stony Sept is. I mean, it's southwest of Harrenhal and, whatever. That's not the biggest, most important thing here. What is important is that Loren I Lannister, who was King of the Rock at the time, joined forces with Mern Gardner, who was the King of the Reach, and they attempted to smash the Targaryens and push them back. So they lined up all their men between them. They had about 55,000 of them. And the Targaryens had mostly conscripted people from the Riverlands. They didn't have their own army that they brought in like Daenerys has. They came and crushed things, and different lords would take up with them because they knew they were going to win, kind of thing. So yeah, the Lannisters and the Gardners had 55,000 men. 5,000 of those were mounted knights. And their plan was to flank the Targaryen army and smash the Aegon Center with all those knights, but it didn't quite work out. The Targ forces were able to form a defensive crescent, and when the allies from the Rock and from the Reach started to break their lines, Aegon and his two sisters took to their dragons. Now you remember Aegon rode Balerion the Black Dread, and his two sister wives rode Meraxes and Vhagar. They basically set the field on fire, thus the name the Field of Fire. They attacked, they caught things on fire downwind from where their enemies' forces were. Because of the setup, their forces were safely upwind from all the flame, and they could basically just pick people off that were running away from the fire. King Loren was able to escape once he realized that there was no way they could win. The dragons themselves killed about 4,000 men, and including King Mern and all of his sons, grandsons, brothers, cousins, and other kin. And one of the interesting things about this is that in the book Game of Thrones, the first time we actually hear about this is from Tyrion as he's traveling north to the Wall with Jon. So to not get too detail-oriented, I guess, just they crushed them. The dragons crushed a much larger force, and it pretty much set precedent for anyone who was thinking about going up against Aegon. Now, that doesn't mean that the whole place folded, but it was a decisive victory. For example, the Targaryens only lost like 100 people compared to, thousands on the other side. It's also the only time when all three of the dragons took the battlefield at the same time, and like I said, it has been remembered as the Field of Fire. So after this all happened, they took all the swords of the defeated soldiers and they sent them downriver to Blackwater Rush, to what was then known as Aegon Fort, and they would end up being part of Aegon's Iron Throne, the same one we know today. So that's an interesting bit. The King of the Rock, Loren the First Lannister, was captured the next day. He gave up his claim. He became the Warden of the West under the rule of House Targaryen. Harlan Tyrells then surrendered the seat of Highgarden to the new crown, without conflict, since all of the gardeners were gone. That's how they got dominion over the Reach and became the Lords of Highgarden, the Tyrells. And then Aegon marched north. Now this is where the Starks come in. They pulled together about 30,000 Northmen and they were coming south under the leadership of Torrhen Stark, who we've been talking about quite a bit lately. He was the king in the north, and now the tables had been turned because Aegon and his sister were able to put together 45,000 from the Riverlands, Stormlands, the Reach, and the Westerlands in response. So after the Field of Fire and Harrenhal falling before that, this is what made Torrhen become the king that knelt. He decided to give up in face of what would be the same kind of slaughter that the Lannisters and Gardeners had faced. So he became the Warden of the North, and that's how all of that stuff happened. So in the current season, and especially in relation to the latest trailer that came out, we can see that Daenerys looked super strong when she came across, but things aren't going her way. So far, the crown has actually been pretty effective with the help of Euron Greyjoy to destroy her allies. Daenerys has been talked out of taking her dragons and going to even the score by her advisors, but after seeing the last trailer, I figure that there is basically no chance that that's going to hold anymore. She's not going to sit at Dragonstone and let her armies be picked apart. So this is where we imagine that we're going to see the Field of Fire 2 when she reintroduces dragons into the warfare on the continent. So we saw the setup. The Lannisters took Highgarden. Olenna Tyrell committed suicide, and they're traveling back with a lot of gold and a lot of supplies that'll keep King's Landing healthy during a siege, if that would be the case. The speculation has been that this will come under attack, this convoy, and that Daenerys will make a statement that could have the same kind of impact on the war for Westeros as it did during the conquest. We have Jon Snow, who has not bent the knee because of his people, and he knows they won't respect that. But then we also have this historical context where his ancestor bent the knee in not exactly the same situation, but under the same kind of pressure. So this could change the outlook of some of the people in the north when the word gets back. But it's like I said, it's a lot different because of the fact that Jon really just only cares about going north and battling the White Walkers. Daenerys has given him the opportunity to get that dragon glass that he wants, so it may never really come up again in that same context. You know, something may happen where they just have to drop all those ideas of who's following who and, you know, fight the war for the dawn, basically. We also have the historical context that the Lannisters are looking pretty good sitting on the crown right now. But then we also have the context that Loren the First Lannister, King of the Rock, is like the poster boy for getting destroyed by dragons in battles. So yeah, it's pretty interesting when you think about all that stuff. I hope you guys, if you haven't seen it yet and you're still waiting, I hope this helps to build the hype. I thought there would be a battle for Highgarden, or we'd see more of that. So I'm assuming that this is going to be unbelievable. Like, we know that they were filming in this location for like 3 weeks, I think it was. Like, it's been a while since I read about it. But yeah, they were there for a long time, and they trained a lot of people. They hired a lot of extras that were, you know, they were like asking for people that had combat experience or stuff like that. You know, it was definitely battle scene stuff that they were getting together, and it was on a scale that was pretty freaking large. So it should be a spectacle. The dragons are a lot bigger than what we've seen in the past, so this should be epic. I don't know what else to say. Now I'm getting all excited. So I'll cut the video off here and I will ask you to like it if you enjoyed it. Tell me about your predictions for how this Field of Fire, the Field of Fire 2.0, will compare to the original. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and make sure you tick the little bell for the notifications because I've been putting out a lot of videos and you don't want to miss any. Make sure you follow me over on Twitter and my other social media accounts. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon.